Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of Flyover Breakdowns. Today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at Penn State linebacker Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons is without a doubt one of my favorite players in this draft class. He is such a versatile defender in the front seven and can play almost anywhere. And we're going to take a look at how dominant he is and the comparisons he has to one of the NFL's best linebackers in recent memory, Luke Kuechly. Now, the Eagles traded back to the 12th pick, and I really liked Micah Parsons with the 6th pick, but now they moved back. It seems far more likely that he is a possibility for Philadelphia, especially after attacking other positions in need of free agency in the secondary. Linebacker seems likely to be targeted in the 2021 NFL Draft. Since he arrived at Penn State his freshman year, Parsons has been one of the most dominant linebackers in all of college football. In his freshman year, he had over 82 tackles and 4 tackles for loss over 13 games. During his sophomore year in 2019, the last season he played, he had over 109 tackles and 14 tackles for loss. His growth from freshman to sophomore year is ridiculous, and he didn't even play this past season. But we're going to take a look at some combine stats. He has not shown any rust or drop off whatsoever. One of the things that just makes him so ridiculous is he is sort of that Python player that Jabril Peppers was at Michigan in terms of just, he could play anywhere. Now, Penn State often had him at the mic, but he could play off the edge. He could be an outside linebacker. His athleticism is just ridiculous that he can play any of these positions without a hitch, and I think that's what Philadelphia needs desperately, is just somebody who can fill in wherever necessary and be one of the best of the league at it wherever they are. Taking a look at these stats I just glanced over a little bit a few seconds back. During the 2019 season, just 13 games, over 109 tackles, 14 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, and 4 forced fumbles. He was a force to be reckoned with. There was no stopping Micah Parsons. He was all over the field. His size, even with that, is just ridiculous. He is one of the most physically imposing players in college football, and he would immediately transfer that size in the NFL because he's just that huge. Looking at these comparisons to Luke Kuechly, they are almost on par with one another, except for the 40-yard dash, which even if Parsons has a faster 40 time and almost the exact same build as Kuechly in every other category, that is insane. Now, you also have to keep in mind that 4.39, it's unofficial. I'm not sure if at his pro day if it was laser timed or hand timed, but you have to realize any of these 40 times outside the NFL Combine are likely to be a tad quicker than what they're expected to be. So I would probably say it's somewhere probably around a 4.48, 4.49, which is still fantastic for a linebacker to have that sort of speed and almost be on par with any skill position in the entire NFL. This highlight tape you're watching is Parsons' senior year at Harrisburg High School, and it was just ridiculous how good he was at running back. He played both defensive end and running back. He was a 4-star recruit before committing to Penn State. He was just toying with defenders, and he was just absolutely insane. Like, he could be recruited for how good he was at running back. And you see some of these defensive beasts. Jadeveon Clowney, he was a force to be reckoned with at running back when he was in high school, and that really transferred well over to the defensive side of things during his better years. I think Micah Parsons can bring that over to the defensive side as well. During the Cougars, his stats were just ridiculous. Take a look at that. During his senior year at Harrisburg, Micah Parsons put up over 1,200 yards rushing, 27 touchdowns, and a ridiculous 11.4 yards per carry over just a 12-game period. He was averaging over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns per game in one of the best high schools in the country. This just exemplifies how athletic he was. It's not even showing his stats on the defensive side. Well, he had over 9.5 sacks and an interception to go along that. This just ridiculous for any player to have. And you look at his athleticism here and the comparisons to Luke Kuechly, it surely shows he is going to be one of the most dominant athletic forces in the NFL. For the breakdowns of this episode, we're going to be taking a look at one game from Micah Parsons and one game from Luke Kuechly. For Micah Parsons, we're going to be taking a look at the 2019 Cotton Bowl against Memphis. Now, this game is just going to show what an athletic monster Parsons is, and also how great he is at reading his keys and getting to the right spot he needs to in his place, and just making the right tackles too. His form and the positioning on his tackles is also fantastic too. for Kuechly later on. We're taking a look at his matchup Week 7 against the Philadelphia Eagles back in 2018. It's going to show some really striking parallels between the two and just how great they are at getting to the play and making the tackle. This first play here by Penn State is going to be a jet sweep by Memphis. You're going to see a wide receiver come in motion. Parsons going to follow him, make a great pursuit, and he's going to tackle him on the inside shoulder. That's going to be key. You always want your linebacker to tackle the inside shoulder, because if you try to go for the outside shoulder, whoever has the ball is going to be able to cut inside you and get a few more yards upfield. Pretty much one of the big no-nos of any linebacker. Beautiful pursuit by Micah here. Just an overall fantastic first play to show really what he's capable of. This next play here is going to be a reverse by Memphis. The wide receiver is going to come opposite. It's going to look like it's just a handoff, but they're going to flip it to the wide receiver. Parsons is going to scream upfield, recognize it almost immediately. You'll take a look from the other side. You're going to see the entire offensive line flow. Parsons screaming upfield. He is going to recognize that wide receiver coming almost before even the offense knows he's coming and make a fantastic tackle. Take a look at it one more time here. It is just ridiculous how the mental IQ of him to read this play before anybody else and just be able to shut it down and make a huge tackle for loss. One of the best plays of the game. I mean, even be able to shoot that gap and break through the guards and just get upfield that quickly is ridiculous. It's just shocking to see how good of a linebacker he was. And this is only his sophomore year. Now this play here is going to show the mental IQ of Parsons and the ability to read his keys on the fly, which is a huge thing you want to see from any young linebacker. You'll see it here, it looks like a casual play. He's going to run, follow the play, and make the tackle on the running back here. But you have to follow. One of the biggest keys for any linebacker in the run game is following the guards. You're going to see the guard pull here. As soon as you see any guard pull when you're a linebacker, you follow that guard because he is going wherever the play is. Now you're going to see Parsons going to follow that, make a beautiful tackle on the inside shoulder of the running back, keep him contained. Absolute fantastic IQ here by Parsons. We are going to follow up that fantastic mental IQ play with just another showing of how physically imposing Micah Parsons is. You're going to see him shoot this A-gap on a 5-man blitz and absolutely destroy this Memphis quarterback for a sack, fumble, and a turnover here. Look how quickly he shoots that gap and gains that much ground on that quarterback. He comes almost out of nowhere, probably about second and a half. He's just able to get in there. He can do everything in this front seven. He can do coverages, run game, pass game. Nothing is unavailable to Micah Parsons. We are going to switch over now to Luke Kuechly and show some of the striking similarities between the two players. This first play here is going to be a speed sweep by Nelson Agholor. You're going to see Luke Kuechly follow it perfectly, attack it, and end up tackling Agholor right by the sideline on his inside shoulder. You see Micah Parsons made those plays in the previous clip before, and it's just still ridiculous how these real linebackers are able to cover this much ground and still end up making the play. The athleticism here, it's not common in the NFL to be able to make these kind of tackles, and it's just truly a fantastic job by both these guys. Look how he's able to follow through and end up making the play. It's insane. Let's switch over and take a look at Luke Kuechly now. You're going to see the wide receiver speed and motion to Agholor. Kuechly's going to have a fantastic pursuit and cover so much ground coming to make the tackle here. He's going to come in on that inside shoulder, make sure he keeps Agholor contained. Beautiful play by Kuechly. Let's look from the other side now. He's going to recognize Agholor coming in motion, know what's coming almost immediately, and just again looking at that pursuit, the ability for both him and Parsons to do this is incredible. One of the most fantastic traits of him, the ability to hustle and cover so much ground so quickly, is just tremendous, and what makes them such great linebackers. Taking a look at this second play here, it's going to be a wide receiver screen out into the slot. You'll see the man in motion. Kuechly's going to recognize it. You think it's a run at first. Great shedding of the block against Brandon Brooks here. And he's going to go right out to the numbers and make a beautiful tackle here. Watch it again. Kuechly is going to fly upfield and still manage to shed the block from Brandon Brooks, one of the best guards in the NFL, and get out there. This is an incredible display of athleticism and truly something Parsons can do as well. The last play here is going to perfectly show both the football IQ and athleticism that Kuechly displays. Now, before we get into the clip, I'm going to explain a little bit what's going on because it's much easier to understand just when you see all of the inner workings of it. So you're going to see here the formation here is bunch near. It's a trips formation, super close together, and also very close to the line of scrimmage here. You're going to see it's Zach Ertz, the other wide receiver, off the ball, and the other wide receiver on the ball. Now, it's going to also be zone right. If you don't know what zone is the most basic run play known to man. Everybody in the offensive line, if it's zone right, everybody's going to step right into the gap. So basically they're going to step right, and whoever is to their right and directly north of that is who they're going to block here. And now to cover the defensive end on the left side, it's going to be left unblocked. Zach Ertz is going to come screaming down and block him. Luke Kuechly is going to do a fantastic job of recognizing this and pretty much making almost a juke move off of his blocker, which will be Jason Kelce, to shoot the gap and make the play. Now, the running back here, whenever it's a zone, the running back is going to have choice of where they can go on the play, and pretty much any open hole that they can get into is going to be where they attack. And before the running back even has a choice, Luke Kuechly is going to be in the backfield making a play. Take a look at this in action now. Here you're going to see, keep an eye, you're going to see better in the other angle of just how Luke Kuechly is able to go in and make the play here. You're going to see Ertz blocked down, and there he is, Kuechly right in the backfield making the play here. We'll take a look from the other side because it's a lot easier to understand what's going on here. You're going to have all of the zone blocks written up on how they're going to go about blocking and how Kuechly attacks us. So Jason Kelce, center, is going to be having Luke Kuechly's responsibility here. Everybody's going to be taking a step right. Kelce's going to take that step right. Kuechly's going to recognize this play, what's going on. He's going to actually shoot left and juke out Kelce. And before the running back even had a chance to attack a hole, Kuechly is there. Fantastic play in stopping the zone. Let's wrap things up here. The verdict on Micah Parsons, like we said, he is just an athletic freak between size, athleticism, strength, and he can play almost anywhere in that front seven, like we mentioned earlier. Sort of that Viper, Python positions, like I mentioned, Real Peppers doing during his time in Michigan. Like I said, he's a great effort player. You just see these plays that he is able to cross almost the entire field and make the tackle, and that the ability to cover that much ground is ridiculous, and the hustle to do it consistently is remarkable. And you see those comparisons with Luke Kuechly. Now, you look at the rest of the players outside this draft, outside of the Trevor Lawrences, Zach Wilsons, and he is probably a top 3 player. He's right up there at Penn State, in my opinion, on just how dominant he is. There is no denying. If you look at this film, you cannot say he is going to be an all-pro, possibly a future Hall of Famer, just how impressive his resume is at Penn State in just such a short period. Now, obviously, the big question in terms of the Eagles is Howie Roseman and linebackers. Now, there's a new defensive coordinator in town, Jonathan Gannon. We talk about that cover 2, and hopefully they can adjust and bring in some new linebackers this upcoming season. They let go of Nate Gary. They brought back Alex Singleton on the exclusive right free agency contract for 1 year. So it seems very likely if they're going to be targeting linebackers, they're going to be doing so in this draft. So hopefully they can target Micah Parsons' 12th pick. It's going to completely change that defense from the get-go. Adding him on day 1, he is going to be such an NFL-ready player. He's not going to be a project like Davion Taylor was. He is going to be able to immediately contribute to this Eagles defense. But that'll wrap things up for this episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time, be sure to follow me on Twitter at Jack P. Connell. You can find the Liberty Line on Twitter at LibertyLinePHL. If you want to listen to the Flyover podcast, we just had on my good friend Colin Thompson from the Carolina Panthers. You can find the Flyover podcast on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want, there are written breakdowns for every episode I'm doing. So I'll have one on Micah Parsons available shortly, but there's one on Kyle Pitts. There's one on the Eagles possibly using a cover 2 with Jonathan Gannon next season. I'm going to have all of these written up. And also be sure to comment any suggestions you have for future videos you want to see, or DM me on Twitter, at me on Twitter, wherever you want. I'll be sure to get any video you guys have suggestions on. And be sure to like, subscribe, and I will talk to you guys